I'm telling the story of my grandfather, Charles Proctor. He was an engineer as well as something of a ladies' man. He had somewhere between 10 or 15 wives and equally as many children. My grandmother was his third wife, unbeknownst to her, and she saved all of her letters and all of her photographs and things like that, and I've been trying to go back through them and reconstruct who he was. He's someone that I grew up with, knowing the idea of him, but not someone who was physically ever present.
When you read the proposal and you just get these kind of small puzzle pieces of this greater story she's telling, you're telling yourself, this is a Hollywood movie. I mean, this is something that no real person could possibly experience.
I was very hooked by the narrative component of Jackie Sparks' project. And you know, narrative is sometimes lost in the contemporary art world, and in her case she has a very unique take on it in the way that she's telling a very personal story, but also using period technology like photography and then different projection technologies to sort of trace the timeline of this character of Charles Proctor, who was a real person.
I went back and looked at some photo history and art history and discovered Rauschenberg's combines, and that kind of set off something in my brain and started thinking about things more like a screen printer would rather than a photographer, and dealing with text and physical objects and photographs and being able to layer them within a three-dimensional space really begins to create something else and not just deal with the objects on their own terms, but begin to form relationships between them, and then pushing the narrative forward through elements of text and things like that.
When we went and met with Jackie in person and we got to start seeing how she was talking about creating these layered compositions, these 12 or so prints that would tell the story, it really started to come together for Brian and I how big this story was and how much this piece of art is going to be just as much about cutting out pieces of the story as choosing which ones to include.
It's always been about the stuff with him, because there's not any other proof that he existed. I don't know where his gravestone is. I don't know, you know, where he really called home, other than I know where he was born and where he died. There are a couple objects that I have kind of chosen to focus on. One of them was my mother's doll cradle, which I don't know why that survived and her actual cradle didn't in my grandmother's stuff, but being able to juxtapose that against her kind of her process about not having a father and things like that, and having little notes that she made. There's something to those where they have like this very natural connection. The emptiness and dilapidated cradle versus you know, a little girl who just wants a father. It seems a little heavy-handed, but at the same time, it very directly deals with the text and begins to illuminate the details to that. We
had a chance to sort of dialogue with her about how she's combining the physical objects into a two-dimensional form. Again, there's been a lot of discussion about technically how is this going to be presented in the most effective and powerful way for the viewer.
There's a difference between having professors look in on your work and having someone like a curator. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just a very different relationship. And it's something that I've really enjoyed experiencing, if only because they are more direct. And I kind of like having some confines on my process. It's wonderful to have all the colors in the rainbow and all the tools at your disposal, and you know, people saying go team, but it's something else when you have somebody saying, okay, but realistically, what are you actually going to do? And so that's been, I think, very beneficial for this project that could go on for years and really has no bottom to it.